Good morning, Oak class. Welcome to your very last literacy lesson of this half term. And for your last lesson, we are going to basically write up the story of the once in a lifetime film you've been working on this week. And I would like you to do that on the purple mash to do that I have set you. If you would really rather write this by hand on paper and draw your own illustrations, that's fine too. But this is the version I have set that you can use, and you can add animations if you wanted to. So let's have a look. So when you open your purple mash to do, you will have a version that looks very much like this, but I've just started writing my own version. You will have a version that doesn't have my story on, but will still have some of the prompts to help you. Okay, so this is on to write a story, and there's lots of features that you can use to make this really exciting if you have time to work on backgrounds and animations and things. So you can see that I have put on each page a different part of the story. Okay, and I have done that. I took pictures from the story and saved them. Okay, and I've put them in as backgrounds for you. But if you wanted to change them and draw your own backgrounds, you can see the drawing tools are down the side here, just like on your normal purple mash paint projects. You could either draw your own background, or if you click up here where it says choose a background, you can also select some kind of cloudy background that you can draw on top of. Okay, so you can use my pictures if you wish. I've used it to map out the story for you and help you remember the order that things have happened in. Okay, and you can see that by clicking, I'll have to move myself. On clicking the planning button, you can see that I have mapped out 7 parts to this story with pictures from the film. And then the 8th part is if you wanted to write about what happens next after the end of the film. So if I click this arrow back, I did that by clicking this planning button up here. Okay, and I've split the story into 7 parts. So if you think about this story in a story mountain kind of planning format, you would usually start a story by introducing the setting and the main characters. And you've already worked on describing Skyman, which you're going to use part of on the 2nd page. But I'd like you to start off by describing the setting, because that's how the film starts. Okay, so I will leave these bits here for you on your version. Make sure you fill in who the story is by when you're writing as well. So this is my introduction and setting description. I'm going to read to you to give you some more ideas. Way above the clouds, where the sky is infinitely blue, maybe right above where you are now, floated a magnificent wooden ship. It was like any other ship, but instead of sails, the Sky Adventurer had a great balloon with ship-like rudders to help navigate it through the skies on the hunt for adventure. And you can see that I've used an ellipsis there to build some suspense. Okay, you don't need to use that at the end of every page. Use it wisely and it's more effective. Okay, so that is my setting description. That is my introduction to the story, because that's how the film starts. Okay, and then I've suggested that on the 2nd part, you then need to introduce your character. This is the first time we see Skyman. So we need to know what he's like, what he looks like, and what he's like as a person, as a character, why he's here, and what's happening in this part of the film. So this is my version. Aboard the miraculous floating ship lived the man who built it. His real name was Geoffrey, but he was nicknamed Skyman by his friends because of the amount of time he had spent sailing the skies. Skyman had a willowy figure with muscular legs, a broad chest and an angular, well-defined jaw. He had a straight, pointed nose that sheltered a greying moustache and large jug-like ears, which gave him exceptional hearing. Skyman's typical brown explorer's jumpsuit was worn from years of use, and he never went without a pair of goggles, a pocket telescope, and a headscarf to protect his long grey hair from the winds above the clouds. Skyman was audacious, adventurous and curious, though his fearlessness and lack of patience had sometimes got him into trouble. For months now, Skyman had been sailing the skies in search of the elusive flying sky turtle. One glorious bright morning, Skyman was adjusting the rudders when all of a sudden, disaster struck. The steering oar came loose and swiftly began tumbling down towards the ocean below before Skyman could catch it. "Oh no! How will I be able to control the ship now?" cried Skyman anxiously, to nobody in particular. So you might notice in that character description some of the words or phrases that you sent in to me to describe Skyman, and I've tried to put lots of the ideas together to build that description. And I don't know if you noticed when I was reading, but this is a reason why it's very important to edit your work. And you see there, I've got A twice, so I need to edit that. Make sure you keep checking your writing when you're working as well, especially because you can't make this box any bigger. You have to scroll up and down to read back your writing and check your punctuation and that it makes sense. So these are some of your adjectives and descriptions of Skyman that you picked out, which I absolutely loved. Okay. And to add your own text to these, because I'll get rid of this bit of writing and you can write your own. So from the next bit on, I haven't written anything and you will continue the story yourself. Okay. But at the bottom here, if you want to change, I'm going to move myself again. If you want to change your font, so that's what the typing looks like, the colour that you're writing in, or the size of your writing, although you can scroll up and down as much as you need to fit in as much writing as you want to do. And you can do that from there. Okay. These are copy and paste buttons and you can click and drag your text around. This button here tells you what page number you're on out of all the pages that you've got. And this button here is to play any animations that you might want to add to your background here. Okay, because up here, there are other buttons that you can play with, such as adding a sprite. Okay, so little characters that might do actions and things like encoding. I wondered if you might want to add a little turtle that might, if you did your own background, might want to jump around, and you could do that by clicking, let me move myself a bit, clicking on here, and to choose a character you would press this clip art button here. It automatically goes to characters, but say you wanted to do a little turtle because that matches with the sky turtles in the story. I found a little turtle down here. Okay, and then you can play around with adding animations and sounds and things on your page. But I would suggest maybe doing that bit after you've done your writing. Okay, so then your background you can choose from here, and you can also add sounds in and things. Okay, so by pressing this play button, it will play all the things on that page that you have added to it. Now down here, you've got to be very careful. This picture of the bin means you are going to delete that slide. And the button next to it here means you are going to wipe everything that's on that slide. So it'll still be there, but it'll be empty, so be careful. If you wanted to add any more slides, you want to split the story out further or continue it for longer, you would go to the end, for example. You can see I'm on page 5, 6, 7, and I've added in one more for look, 8, if you wanted to add this, a further ending to the story. Okay, if you wanted even more than that, you could then click this button here and it would add and insert a new page. Okay, so now we've got 9 pages. If you want to watch any other little videos about how to use these animation parts, you can go to this button here and there's lots more help videos to help you do that. I'm focusing on the writing bit for now, okay? So you can see as I flick back through, I have added suggestions about what you might want to write about in each part of the story. Okay, so I've done my initial introduction and setting description. Then we introduce the character of Skyman and why is he here, what is happening. Because remember, there's actions as well as description in this story. So once his rudder has fallen down, what happens next? Can you continue the story? What was Skyman's dilemma now that this has happened? And what will happen next? And keep writing in there. Section 4, what are Skyman's ideas and actions here? If you want to watch the film again, that's fine. You can use that to help you. You're describing what happens in the film. Part 5, I've suggested to think about what is Skyman thinking and feeling at this point in the story after his rope has snapped and he thinks all the sky turtles are flying away without him. Part 6, how does Skyman resolve his dilemma? Because remember, in A Story Mountain, the kind of midpoint of the story is some kind of dilemma, some kind of problem to keep the story exciting. And then as you work down the far side of the mountain, it goes from problem to resolution to then a conclusion. So let's think about that. How does he resolve his dilemma of being stuck on the ship with no navigation system? How does the story conclude? Okay, so that would be your ending. And then if you want to continue the story further past the end of the film, you can do that there. Okay. So let's think about the things that we need to remember when we're writing here, because I want you to focus on the writing first, the writing most of all, and then do lots of whizzy things with the backgrounds and the characters if you wanted to. Okay. So if we think about the things that I've included in my setting description, you can see that I've got all my appropriate capital letters. I've used some commas where it's appropriate. Can you remember where you need to use commas? In your description, you might use commas in between two adjectives that you're using. Or if you're starting to use some sentence openers, you might use a comma after your sentence opener, your adverbial phrase, which might be time or place. You can use any of the word maps that I've sent you to help you think of really interesting ways of describing things and of starting sentences. Okay. I've tried to use lots of powerful adjectives, powerful verbs such as navigate. Okay, I want you to describe the things that are happening rather than just tell me. I want to be able to picture it and I want to be able to feel what they're feeling. If you did your speech bubbles on Monday, you might want to use those to help you when you're helping to describe Skyman's actions. So down here, when I said, "Oh no, how will I be able to control the ship now?" cried Skyman, I have put what would be in a speech bubble into what we call speech marks there, okay? And you will find your speech marks above the number 2 on your keyboard, okay? So you'd have to press the shift button and then number 2, and you would get a speech mark. And you would do that at the start and then at the end of whatever your character is saying out loud, okay? Now, Skyman doesn't talk in the film, but if he did talk, they were the things that you would be writing about, that you might have done in your speech bubbles, okay? You can see that I've used question marks when appropriate. I've tried to use interesting adverbs to describe verbs. Can you think about which verb anxiously is describing here? What is he doing anxiously? Or what did he do anxiously? Well, he cried, as in shouted, okay? I'm not just using said. I'm trying to be a bit more creative, all right? So try and build a powerful description for your readers, because once you've finished this and saved it, I would really love for you to save this onto the blog or share it onto the blog for everyone else to read, and then we can see how different they all are, and I think that would be really lovely. Okay, I've used another adverb here, look, swiftly. Instead of using quickly all the time, let's see if we can use something a bit more creative. You can Google it, or you can use your word maps to help you come up with those interesting words. So do you think you're ready to have a go at this story writing? Okay, you will find this in your Purple Mash to-dos, but if you would really rather write this on paper, that is fine too. Good luck. I look forward to reading them. So sadly, that was my last lesson for Oak Class and for Browick Court School. I will be leaving as of half term, and I'm sure you've heard that I'm going to be moving to Hong Kong, which is very far away, but seeing as we all keep in contact these days via Zoom and pictures and emails, I'm sure I'll be able to get some updates across to you when I'm settled over there. So seeing as we can't do the goodbyes that any of us would have liked, I would like to request, quite cheekily, that you use these stories as a bit of a parting gift to me, to show me everything that you've learnt this year, that hopefully I've taught you something, and your very, very best work as kind of a leaving present for me. So I would really appreciate reading those stories when you share them or that you submit them to me. So I'd like to wish you the very, very best of luck for the rest of this year. And I really hope that your lives and your school days can go back to some semblance of normality really very soon in a safer way as possible. And that you all have a very, very happy, healthy, successful future at Braywick and the rest of your lives. So I hope to see some of you on Zoom on Friday morning. But if I don't, I miss you all. Good luck. See you soon, hopefully.